If I pot you up, I'm going to have to get more potting soil. And I don't want to buy more potting soil. So why not go to my garden and my compost and mix up my own? Hi, I'm Debbie. Welcome to my organic garden. In today's video, I'm going to show you how to make up your own potting soil and how to put these babies in a bigger pot.
All I have needs, I have not provided.
I'm just going to skim off the top here. Okay, I'm ready to put some compost in with that. So let's go find some compost that's finished. I wasn't able to find some finished compost. So what I opted for instead was to go around the edges of where the compost is, where it's processing right now, and get basically the runoff. I figure if it is powerful enough to grow a papaya tree like this, it's bound to be some good nutrients in the areas around my compost. And so since that's all I have right now, that's what I'm going to use. All you got to do now is mix up your garden soil and your compost together so it's a good, even mix. Now, honestly, if you have a lot of finished compost, you can go straight compost if you want. Your plants will love it. But I didn't have that privilege, as you see. And so I'm just mixing up the most fertile soil that I can come up with. And because I know what grows next to all this fertile soil and it's really, really healthy, I know this is going to work. I've been saving pots for a long time. And if you don't have pots, save your little containers that your sour cream or yogurt comes in. They work just as well. Just be sure, I don't know if you can see that, you're going to have to poke a hole down in the bottom. You see how this container has holes? Since this container does not have holes in it, I'm just going to use it as my little shovel. And I'm going to fill these up about 1/3 of the way. It doesn't have to be a great big production. You don't have to be exactly precise. A few leaves here and there in the bottom aren't going to hurt a thing. So how do I know this is going to work? Well, I normally would be putting the tomatoes right out into just garden soil. So if this is garden soil plus compost mixed together, I'm pretty confident it's going to work. One thing to remember is try not to mix up the different varieties that you have. I'm going to do one variety at a time and separate them. That way I can judge at the end of the season which variety of tomatoes did the best and what was good, what didn't work out so good. These are my pepper plants, and they took probably an extra 10 days to 2 weeks to come up after all of my tomato plants came up. I'm going to leave my pepper plants in there. They're still just barely getting their true leaves. You see, these are the leaves that come out with the seedling, and these right here are the true leaves. So I'm just going to leave them in there and let them get a little bit bigger before I try to transplant those. So this row right here is a different variety than I've ever tried before. They're called Don's Double Delights. Those leaves don't even look like tomato leaves to me. But see if I can pull this out for you. I don't know if you can see that, but there's little teeny tiny hairs around the stem, and that's a dead giveaway that it really is a tomato plant. So I'm just going to very gently, very carefully pull these apart, and each one is going to go down into a pot, and I'm going to bury it pretty deep, and I'm pinching off those first little leaves that came out. And my goal is to get that soil level all the way up there. So I'm burying this stem pretty deep. Now, if you're planting straight into the garden, you can actually go all the way up to the leaves. But I don't have that deep of a pot, so I'm going to bury it as deep as I can. I do have a video that shows how to squeeze these plants out of the little cups and how to transplant your tomatoes right into the garden. So be sure you check that video out too. Just give it a little tamp and set it to the side. When you're on a budget, don't worry about having to have a perfect setting to grow a vegetable garden. You see here, this is just a pile of dirt, and it became a potting table. I'm going to be throwing all of these away. I have 7 or 8 of them already that are healthy. You know, when you're planting several seeds in each one of these little cells, the idea is you are going to be having to cull some out. And that's just part of gardening. Don't worry about these little weaklings. They're never going to be as healthy as their stronger fellow plants. So if you're worried about wasting it, put them back in your compost pile. I saved seed from some little yellow pear tomatoes that I found while I was on vacation in a state that's 600 miles away from me. I don't know if it's going to work here. A lot of times when you see something that's doing fantastic in one climate, it doesn't do so well in yours. So if you do not live in Central Florida like I do, just take the principles of what I'm doing and apply it to wherever you're at. It works everywhere. You may have to do some different varieties and experiment around until you find some varieties of vegetables that work best for you. I'd like to end up with 6 good, healthy plants here. So I'm going to narrow this down to about 7, just in case one of them doesn't do good. So 2, 4, 6, 7. That's 7. And all of these are going to go into the compost. I'm going to shake off some of that dirt. So what do you do when you run out of cups and you still have plants to transplant? Well, you go looking around your house and you find whatever you can find. If you have any plastic containers, be sure to poke holes in the bottom so they can drain. You might have to use paper cups or paper bowls, anything. anything. So I looked around and I have pots that are actually too big to put just one in. So I'm going to put several in these pots. And I also have the top to a rotisserie chicken. Maybe I should turn it that way. My husband loves rotisserie chicken. And it has holes in it. I've already used this container for something else, and so I'm going to reuse it. It's a great way to reuse plastic. If you have any plastic containers, keep them. You might need them later on. So I'm going to choose the best ones out of here. And what I look for is the condition of the stem more so than the condition of the leaves. If you have a good, strong stem, then they're going to be able to support the plant in a better way. See how this one right here is a bit thicker than, say, this one right here. So right here, let me show you. This one is the one I'm going to choose over this one. Even though they're both pretty healthy, this one has a thicker stem. These particular plants came from a tomato that I bought at a fruit stand. And they're called beef tomatoes. And they do quite well being planted from seed again. I like to just plant the whole slice of tomato. But if you don't like doing that, then what you can do is take the seed out of the tomato and smear it on a piece of paper towel and then plant it right into the dirt. So here I've got 5 seeds, 5 plants, and that's going to be enough of the beefsteak for me. The rest of these are San Marzano. Those are an Italian tomato. And I'm going to probably keep, I'm thinking maybe 15 to 18 of these. So if I keep 18, I probably can put about 8 in these and 3 or 4 in each of these. Well, that's it. I've potted up all of my tomato plants, and now I'm going to water them with supercharged compost water. Be sure you watch that video. It's easy to make, and it's great for seedlings, potted plants, you name it. And it's easy to make. Thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe. And please, give it a thumbs up. That really helps me out.